Hot topic here on March 17th, 2025. Happy St. Patrick's Day to all. My name is Robert. He's Jason with the last weekend of club football heading into internationals. Where's everyone at? So we're going to rank men's national team players from a scale of 1 to 5 of who's coming into national team camp in the best form. Who do you want to start with, Mr. Davis?
I mean, the headline is, and let's not bury it, is that Christian Pulisic is very good at soccer. Saving AC Milan in that victory over Como this past weekend. If we're doing this on the 1 to 5 scale with no half numbers allowed, it's a cop-out. It's cheating. 5. Christian Pulisic's out of 5. I guess if you really wanted to get granular, you could talk about a blip here or there. You could talk about some rest that he was given, or maybe that was a coach's decision. There's a couple of things that are like you can go and get real specific, but I don't see how you don't see what he did against Como, see the goal he scored, and think, yeah, the guy comes in super confident, ready to lead the United States to a Nations League title. Absolutely a 5, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about the LeBron James of soccer here, right?
That's right.
And it is worth, I think it might have been Graham Ruthven on a Total Soccer Show or another Scotsman talking about just, it's a good to reflect on just what a treasure Christian Pulisic is. And like most countries don't have a Pulisic. Like I know some people get weighed down in the expectations, what you thought he was going to be, what he is, where you thought he would be. But really think back on a player who is able to slot into one of the biggest teams in the world and be one of their most important players. And just this is a skill set. I mean, imagine if you were a team of, from Scotland, you love their team. They've never really had a player at that level, or at least not during the recent history. Like think of so many countries that don't have a player to that dynamic level. And I think that, he's in great form now, one of the best seasons of his career so far. And I think, just a moment of gratitude, pour out a green beverage for the fact that Christian Pulisic is healthy and coming into the United States men's national team camp here once again here in March.
I've never heard anybody say pour some out for something good like that. I've heard pour some out for the memory of something bad or somebody who's gone. But yeah,
cheers to it. I
mean, it's slancha. It's a slancha for Christian Pulisic. We're lift up your Guinness or whatever Irish beverage. I'm partial to Smithwick's myself, but if you pick up your Irish beer or beverage of choice and cheers. 5. Christian Pulisic 5.
Next on the list, rank his form 1 to 5. The Jedi himself, Mr. Antonee Robinson. He was an 8.3 on FOTMob at the weekend. Most dribbles completed in the game. Where is he at, Mr. Davis?
Yeah, victory over Tottenham Hotspur for Fulham Football Club. Very thrilled to see that. Wasn't sure what Fulham would do coming into that game. It's been not up and down, right? It's a very good season by Fulham standards, but I'm always kind of a little bit trepidatious.
Waiting for the shoe to drop?
Not necessarily a shoe to drop, just like a little bit of disappointment's a possibility. But I'm going to give Jedi a 5 here, Ooh. Not just because of his excellent performance against Tottenham, where you gave the score. His crossing ability has improved so much. He is dynamic on both sides of the ball, gets up and down the field. He looks the part, right? He looks a confident player. And if you got Christian Pulisic as the number 1 best player in the U.S. men's national team, I think the race for number 2, there are several candidates, but I think Jedi Robinson might be the guy that you would pick out as number 2. I think he has completely earned the label as one of the best left backs in the best league in the world.
Yeah, you can tell in the commentary, people aren't surprised anymore when he puts in a good moment or a good performance. It's just Antonee Robinson, one of the best in the league, and people move on because it's become a staple. A little bit harder to rank because Crystal Palace kind of had an off weekend, but back in the defense, Chris Richards, where are you ranking the American center back, 1 to 5?
Yeah, Chris Richards has done a trick, and that trick is to become a consistent starter for a Premier League team. Now, is Palace a good Premier League team relative to the rest of the league, relative to Liverpool or Manchester City or Arsenal or anybody like that? I mean, obviously they're not that level. but they are solidly mid-table at this point, right? And there's always a chance. Every Palace season has the potential to go disastrously and have them sent down, right? That's every Palace season. That's the state of Palace fandom. Chris Richards playing in that group for Oliver Glasner has earned his opportunity. You go to the stats from this performance. Yes, again, a loss. Not this past performance was Ipswich Town. They didn't play this weekend. We established that they were off this weekend and they had a friendly last week. And we'll come to how that impacts another player on our list in a second. But go back to the game against Ipswich where they won 1-0. That was a week ago, March 8th, a week and a half ago. Most completed passes, most tackles, most duels won. I'm not saying he's, an all-league level performer. He's not a best 11 defender in the Premier League. But he's very solid. He's confident. He's playing. I think if you're being fair to Chris Richards and where he is right now entering this camp, again, it would be nice to have had one more meaningful match going into the Nations League. But absent that, it's a 4, at least a 4 for me for Chris Richards.
Another one that's a little bit tricky to rate, still in the defensive positions, Austin Trusty, status questionable after taking a knock.
Yeah, picked up an injury, didn't play in the Glasgow Derby as Celtic lost to Rangers this past weekend. And that would have been a great opportunity to kind of see him in a high-stakes environment. Like we've watched him do fairly well in the Champions League for Celtic. I don't know how many of you are out there watching the Scottish Premiership every weekend to see how Austin Trusty and another guy called into this team, Cameron Carter-Vickers, are doing. I'll admit I'm not watching the Scottish Premiership every weekend or seeing what Celtic does every weekend. Celtic loses that game 3-2. And you have to imagine, with Cameron Carter-Vickers in that back line, but without his normal partner, Austin Trusty, that they might have done a little bit better defensively. Like maybe that would have been a better performance for them. Because of the calf injury, I don't know how that impacts his availability for the national team. Right? We have not yet seen word. I've not seen a statement put out by U.S. Soccer that, Austin Trusty is not flying in for training, which obviously is everybody's traveling in today with training coming up and the game on Thursday. I don't know. So we'll put question marks on this, but it's definitely not ideal for Austin Trusty.
Moving along, another Crystal Palace American played as a sub in club-friendly Thursday. Similar to Chris Richards, playing in Spain versus a Norwegian team. Got 45 minutes. What do we think of Matt Turner? Definitely not where we thought he was going to be not too long ago.
No, well, I mean, this has been the status of Turner's career for a couple seasons, right? Arsenal, Forest, Palace. He's not the first choice goalkeeper there. He is a cup goalkeeper, and that is extremely frustrating. Played in the win over Millwall in the last round of the FA Cup for Crystal Palace, I think is what I have. Obviously didn't play against Ipswich in the league. Plays a half in a friendly against a Norwegian team I cannot pronounce, which is not a good sign about the quality of the opposition. It's not good. If he's the number one goalkeeper, you definitely have questions. I'm giving him a 1. I don't know how you can give anything other than a 1 to a player who doesn't see consistent time. It's not to say that he is suddenly a really bad goalkeeper, but if we're talking about form is about where you are right now and how well you're playing and how often you're playing, and he's not, so he gets a 1.
Moving along to a player that's probably not in the ranking of form that we'd like. Giovanni Reyna did not play, unused sub in another Dortmund loss, hasn't started a game since March 1st.
Yes, this is another one. Again, if you're not playing, you can't be in good form. You just can't. And even the minutes that he's gotten as a substitute do not kind of collect to enough confidence that he comes into this national team camp in good form. Gio Reyna is in this camp because he has a skill set that nobody else in the U.S. men's national team has. Like Pulisic's a better player. Antonee Robinson's a better player. Weston McKennie's a better player. I could go on and on and on. But what Gio Reyna can do in the area of the field he can do it, there's nobody else that replicates that. And when we looked at the U.S. men's national team roster, you can see that Mauricio Pochettino wants a player who can do what Gio does, and he's even brought in a guy behind Gio, and maybe he'll start, but maybe certainly possible substitute minutes for Diego Luna, who plays in the similar area for Real Salt Lake. It's not exactly the same. And, again, both of these players, it's sort of what did they do on the other side of the ball and all those things. I cannot see how you can give Gio Reyna anything else but a 1 on a form scale when it comes to his return to the national team program. He's got a lot to prove in these 2 matches. And, again, there's still that question of even if he has a very good showing, the U.S. wins the Nations League again, he goes back to Dortmund, he rides the bench for Niko Kovac, and we're waiting for the summer when maybe something happens. He just changed agents, which would seem to indicate he went from his old agency, I can't remember who that was, somebody he'd been with for a very long time, to Jordi Mendes, super agent, Ronaldo's agent, the guy that, has executed all these deals and has all these connections, who basically established or managed Wolves' transfer policy for a while when Nuno Espirito Santo was there. And obviously Nuno was at Nottingham Forest, and when Gio switched agents, he ended up at Forest. Nuno is a Jorge Mendes client, the Portuguese connection. That has clearly not paid off, and now he's changing again. And I don't know what that means yet, but it's a 1 for Gio.
Gio definitely on the low end of the form chart. Moving on to someone that's a little higher on it, Tyler Adams for Bournemouth. Despite the loss to Brentford this weekend, he's done very well. He played 79 minutes over the weekend, but he's started, I think, 11 of the last 12 games for Bournemouth. One of the most consistent runs of his pro career, definitely since being on English shores. And he's been playing almost the full game, most of these games running into this camp right now.
Yeah. I'm giving Tyler Adams a 4. Okay. It's not a 5. It's not, oh my gosh, look at how incredible his form is. And look at where, everything, mostly because of the lack of long-term consistency. He's gotten some recent consistency, and I think that's encouraging. And he's obviously very good. And it's clear that Iraola values him and continues to put him in the starting lineup. We weren't sure, right? Is Tyler Adams the kind of level that if he's healthy, Iraola will put him back into the starting lineup, or is he going to have to kind of slowly work his way in, and maybe there's a lot of substitute minutes, and, how much does he get trusted right away? It seems as though that's not an issue, that Iraola trusts him. Now, their form as a club has taken a hit in the league, which I don't necessarily know you can hang on Tyler Adams, but that is a factor here, and Tyler is just sort of consistently there. They were not great, and they lost to Brentford on the weekend at home, which is disappointing for a Bournemouth team that at one point, had the possibility maybe climbing into that race for a top 4, top 5 spot. And they're not too far back now, but that is something. But I think it's fair that Tyler Adams, excellent player, consistent minutes, not maybe so consistently great that he's a 5, not a Pulisic level, not a Robinson level, but a 4.
Yeah, his FOTMOB ratings of the last few games, 6.8 at the weekend, then he had a 7.4, 7.3, 7.0. So, he's at a solid level. Due to time, we're going to go switch to quick fire form rankings here, Jason. Next up, Weston McKennie.
Weston McKennie gets a 4. Club not doing so well. Weston McKennie continuing to start. Obviously, it's not quite whack-a-mole with his position like it used to be, but he is consistently in the lineup and getting opportunities, and I think playing fairly well. And in fact, I think in this last loss, again, if you put any stock into FOTMOB ratings, Weston McKennie was the best-rated player on that Juve side in a game where they were pretty bad and ended up losing 3-0 to Fiorentina. So take that for what it is. Give him a 4.
A player that seems to be up and down every single weekend, getting praised or jeered. Yunus Musa this weekend played under 60 minutes and left the field to jeers after missing a chance earlier in the game.
Yeah, had a very early chance, 3rd, 4th minute for Milan in that game. Again, they ultimately won that game, Pulisic and Reinders scoring and saving them, but Yunus Musa did not. That's not what we think of when we think of Yunus Musa, goal scoring, right? That's not usually his bag. I don't know that it's unfair to jeer him or to be upset if he misses a chance. You're a professional soccer player. You have an open goal. Score the goal. You're at AC Milan. That's the demand. That's the responsibility that you have. I think he is limited Again, I think he's limited going. He can drive the ball forward, but it's always what he does with it after that. It's always kind of where he is in the attacking end of the field that leaves a lot to be desired. I like Yunus Musa a lot. Listed as a forward in the U.S. men's national team. Not sure what that means yet. I'm going to give him a 3.
And then final player on our form rankings here, Patrick Agyemang, coming off the back of his first Major League Soccer goal, his first competitive national team call-up. Where do we rank his form?
I mean, I give him a 3. I mean, it's still early Major League Soccer. It takes 4 games or 3.5 or whatever it is for him to get a goal. I if he had 3 or 4 goals, I would put him on a 4 or a 5 probably. I'm still going to hold back my my full analysis of Patrick Agyemang because he hasn't played at a significantly high level. He played in a January camp where he looked fine against weak opposition, and he's scored a goal in Major League Soccer, which is a fine league, but by no means a top-level league. It's certainly not where Christian Pulisic is scoring goals, for example. So I'll give him a 3, and I'm hopeful, and I want to see him do well, and I do like what I see when I see him play. But yeah, it's not there yet.
Would you give him a 5 for 5 on his smile?
Yeah, absolutely. He gets a 5 out of 5 on the smile, 100%. Need a good smile in the national team.
Yeah, for sure. Going to the chat, Crash the Karsh throwing Stefan in the mix. He's got amazing form. Should he get the start over Turner?
Should he? I find it very, very unlikely that'll happen. I guess he's in good form, but it's still early. I know Turner doesn't play much, but he is in sort of mid-season with Crystal Palace. I think that still matters.
And then just one final note in our segment, not in the national team setup, but a guy, an American, saying, hey, don't forget about me, Haji Wright, scoring a hat trick for Coventry over the weekend. Is he is he going to get thrown into the mix? Is someone going to get injured and Haji Wright gets called in? Or is he just going to, putting a little reminder into Pochettino's note for next time?
No, he's not getting called in. That's not going to happen. Scores 3 goals against Sunderland in the championship. I mean, one of those being a penalty kick. Good for Haji Wright. He might get a look. I mean, he's not out of the picture completely. I suppose some people would say, well, it should have been Haji Wright instead of Patrick Agyemang or Brian White. The 2 MLS forwards who are in this group. I suppose you could argue that. Haji also maybe, filling that spot that Yunus Musa is taking up in the forward pool. Even though he's not really a forward, he's listed there. What does that mean? Is he playing wide? Could that have been Haji Wright as depth in that area behind Tim Weah and Christian Pulisic? I don't know.
We shall see a United States men's national team take on Costa Rica Thursday night. So we'll see how that all plays out.